Hello and welcome to the therapy floor with me, Dr. Ritz.
And me, Dr. Vicky. We are on the floor getting deep into the human experience, unpacking everyday dilemmas through the lenses of two psychologists. Welcome back for part 2 of this week's dilemmas.
Should we get going?
Yeah, let's go straight into it.
Let's go straight into this one.
Okay, so I have it here and it's a 45-year-old woman and she says, I'm now just coming to the realization that I tend to be attracted to men who do not stimulate me mentally. I credit them with more knowledge and curiosity when I meet them and end up finding the conversations dull and, dare I say, a bit boring. And then I'm surprised for not having noticed earlier. So my questions are, why do I subconsciously choose men who are not mentally stimulating to me? And why do I not realise sooner the lack of depth of our upcoming conversations? It's a really interesting one, isn't it?
I mean, I want to get straight in there and ask her, so what is attracting you to them? Is it like the looks first that gets you drawn in? Because I tend to be attracted to men who don't stimulate me mentally. Right, there's still a few stages to get to that. So, for example, a conversation needs to be had.
Yeah.
So what's happening before the conversation that leads you to want to have a conversation with them? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
What's the hook for you first with these types of men that you're saying that you go for? Is there a theme in terms of the hook that's drawing you in, potentially? And is that blinding you to something? As you said, you know it's there, but you're turning a blind eye to it. So is it they have a particular eye colour that you like, or a type of smile or hairstyle? I don't know, like that they're tall for you, or they have a certain type of hair. What is it that's drawing you in the first place? And then this idea that you're giving them credit, I mean, that's quite a powerful statement.
Yeah.
I give them credit I credit them with more knowledge and curiosity when I meet them. Why? Why are you having to build them up?
Oh,
You know?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Why
What's
do I
that
have to build
about?
them up? Do you think it's intentional or unintentional?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
So when she figures out what draws her in initially, then what? Like, what does she do with that? Like, let's just say, for example, what draws her in is their physique. Then what? What does she do with that?
So then she knows that, right? I'm attracted to this person initially. I want to have a conversation with them because of their physique. I have a conversation with them. Actually, I'm not stimulated by your conversation. I'm only stimulated by your physique. That's your answer.
Yeah.
But then if you're kind of making up these excuses that, they were quite funny or they were quite stimulated, when actually, as you said all along, you were giving them credit for something that wasn't there. Well, what was there?
Yeah.
So the physique's only filling you up like 10, 15%.
Yeah.
And then the stimulation part, that's empty, but you're topping it up yourself. And that seems to be, I think, what's keeping you going, because you're saying something like, why do I not realise sooner? And I think you're maybe not realising sooner because of the hook that draws you in, that then you're making like accountances for.
Yeah, maybe that's the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Yeah, I wonder if I don't know why you've not realised sooner the lack of depth, but maybe also you've not realised that was important to you until now, maybe? Because now that you are aware of it, then that could be or should be at the forefront of your mind when you're engaging and in a new conversation with someone, that you know what originally would draw you in, but you also know that you need to see if there's the depth there, there's the intellectual stimulation, that you need to also be looking out for that.
Definitely. So it's almost like again, we're just making this up as we go along, but like physique, tick. Okay, then another like meeting. Mental stimulation, tick.
Yeah.
Rather than you ticking it yourself.
Yeah.
Like let that person show you, be open to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it doesn't, then don't start ticking those boxes just because the first one's ticked. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game at the end of the day. And if what you're looking for is to have that mental stimulation, is to have that depth, to be able to have that conversation with someone that stimulates you in a way that you maybe, as you know, Vicky was saying, didn't realize you needed, you are allowed to have that. You are allowed to aim for that.
Yeah. And I think it's okay. It may not, well, maybe you are subconsciously attracted to rather a particular type of person, but I think then bring your conscience into it. And I think it's okay for you to be subconsciously attracted to someone, but bring your thinking online with it. Because we're attracted to what we're attracted to. Okay, I'm also going to talk about things superficially and not just like, you know, psychologically when we're maybe attracted to drama or we're attracted to toxicity or we're familiar with people treating us badly because we've experienced that before and we're used to it. I'm not necessarily talking about that. But if I know that I'm attracted to men that are 6'3", I'm going to allow myself to be attracted to men that are 6'3", but I'm not going to stop there.
That's it.
Yeah. And also, maybe you also want to be open to other people that you're typically not attracted to if they do offer you the mental stimulation and the intellectual
I wanted to ask that bit.
Yeah.
Like, have you met people that don't necessarily fit the other criteria, but that you have been mentally attracted by their mind, by the depth of, you know, the co-creation that happens between the two of you? And what's happened in those situations?
It's a good question.
You know, have they cut it off? Have you cut it off? Because have other things been missing for you, or things that maybe that initially would be attractive for you weren't there? So then they maybe get friend zoned quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one to think about. Yeah, why do we attract, or why are we attracted to certain types?
I think we're also attracted to certain types because we're familiar with them.
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful to know when we're familiar with something, what kind of safety does it offer us? Is it a helpful safety, or is it a safety that's actually a hindrance? So, for example, you know, people that might be attracted to toxic relationships, yes, they're not great, but they still feel safe in them because having it to be toxic is still quite predictable. It's like, I know something's going to go wrong. I know something bad's going to happen. So yes. And often when they are in good, healthy, safe relationships, I know certainly in my clinic room, sometimes like the feedback week on week is when they come in to talk about their relationships is, something's going to happen. It's too good to be true. This person can't be this nice.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so used to like...
I have that as well. Yeah. I also, we may be veering off your particular dilemma here, but it also makes me think about, you know, when people are attracted to or familiar with certain dynamics, it's usually because it confirms something they believe about themselves. And so maybe if they've had relationships with people who are who are quite selfish maybe, and they find themselves giving a lot in the relationship, and they find that they're coming across this kind of person a lot, I think it could actually speak to you and your own label, identity, self-belief. If you believe that I must people please, or I can only be in a relationship with someone when I'm giving, that's the only kind of person that wants me, then that's the thing to challenge, isn't it? Before you can welcome a new prototype of person.
Yeah, because ultimately what you're talking about is self-worth and worthiness.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is, I'm only worthy of your company because I annihilate my own needs.
Yeah,
like
I give you
something. I'm not asking for my needs to be met. I'm just existing to please you, to give to you.
Yeah.
And what inevitably we're going to see is that person's self-worth is going to be very, very low.
Yeah.
They're going to have quite a poor sense of self. And absolutely, I think if you find yourself getting into those types of relationships, my kind of stance on that would be like, don't get into relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Not until you've done the work on yourself.
Yeah.
Learn to build yourself up first. Learn to take space. Learn to identify what your needs are, because we all have needs. And it's important to get to be familiar with what they are so that you learn how to ask for them in relationships, especially if you know you've got a habit of not.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, alternatively, I'm thinking of like another scenario if maybe someone who is is with people who are very conventionally attractive, and they're with them because it comes back to self-worth and self-esteem, doesn't it? It gives them a feeling of status. It gives them a feeling of achievement. Like, I've got someone who other people desire. What does that say about me?
That's almost like I've won.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? It has that like feel to it.
Yeah.
Like I won the prize.
Respect me.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of veered off a little bit and just generally talking about relationships and the pull, the thing that attracts us to the other person. I wonder also, just to take it back to your dilemma, what typically happens to the relationship or to the dynamic once you realise this? Do you leave? Does the other person feel you pulling away and try to come closer? What typically happens? How does this end for you?
Why are you interested in that?
Just curiosity. Not just curiosity, actually. I'm also thinking about whether there's a secondary benefit, an unintentional benefit there of maybe being chased. If that were to happen.
Yeah.
If the other person were to come closer and you were pulling away, does that feel good?
Desire.
Yeah.
And then maybe what you're doing there is you're creating thrill and excitement in that dynamic because it's not there in the conversational dynamic.
Yeah.
So you're getting your thrill from like, no, I'm going to leave, and then they chase me, and then we're back again, and then actually no, it's not working, I'm going to leave, or they chase me. And we're not saying that this happens, but just playing with like ideas and how people stay in relationships when they know it's not really what they want.
Yeah. And actually, if you were in my therapy room, I think I'd be asking you a lot of questions about the relationship that your parents may have had with each other, if they did have one. What were relationships like in your early life? How were relationships modeled to you? What has been your relationship history, like your first entry into the world of relationships? What was that like for you? Because I think that could also give some clues into the repetitive nature of this. What has been going on here? Because that's, that I think that's really important. Like when I see couples and we're doing the assessment, I will ask them about their individual histories and their background, but I'll also make a very pointed attempt to find out about their parents' relationship. What was that like? What did you witness between your parents? Did they like each other? Did they love each other? Were they affectionate? Were they abusive? And see how they may have mirrored that in their relationships, or they've intentionally gone out and tried to choose someone very different to their parents and very different from what their parents had together. That can be quite interesting. So yeah, those are some things that my questions back to you. Do you have any more thoughts?
I think you already have a good level of self-awareness there, and I think you can use that to further drive what is it you're looking for? What do you want in like your next relationship going forward? Are you looking for something long-term and substantial where you can, build and have these invigorating conversations, or, are you looking for something that's less so, where it only ticks a few of your boxes? And so I think it's also important to come to terms with that as well.
Because some people are okay with that, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Some people are okay with their partner meeting only some of their needs.
Yeah. And maybe she doesn't even want a partner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that's what I get. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is are you just looking to like have a good time and date at the moment, or are you looking for something more long term? And then I think that's going to help you to deepen your self-awareness of, rather than feeling like, am I subconsciously choosing? How can I become more thoughtful and aware of my choices?
And consciously choose.
Yeah, and consciously choose just based on where my compass is going at the moment.
Yeah.
So is it just fun and dating, or is it something more serious to you?
Good point. Yeah.
That's where I'd be kind of wanting to know where you're going at the moment. I think sometimes we often just like take it for granted, don't we? That because somebody's in a relationship or they're dating, that means that they want it to be serious.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dating to take it somewhere. And I think it's okay to say,
that's not what I want.
That's not what I want.
Yeah.
So figure out what you want.
Boom. I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for sending that in.
Thank you. That's our 2 dilemmas done for the day.
It is.
So our first one was about family relationships.
A sense of betrayal.
Sense of betrayal.
Yeah, sense of betrayal from a sibling.
And so you can watch that over on part 1 if you're interested.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Ritz.
And I'm Dr. Vicky.
And we'll see you on the therapy floor soon.
Bye.
Bye. This is Dr. Ritz.
And Dr. Vicky.
Remember to like, subscribe and follow us on our social media channels.